Chali, good to go everyone. Namaskar everybody, good afternoon all. I welcome you all on the behalf of StudyIQ IS. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to the most exceptional series that you will find on YouTube. Myself, Pritesh Maturkar. I welcome you all through Geography through Maps 2.0. So the person whom you are seeing right now on the screen, I have been to approximately 49 countries and I have traveled across 4 continents. So for me, geography is not only my profession but my passion. So this new adventure which I have started with each and every one of you since yesterday, today being the first leg of it, so you will get to know three things through this adventure. Number first, you will be getting the clarity of any location. What are the factors involved with regards to biodiversity, with regards to the topography, with regards to the human settlement about that particular location. Number two, you will be getting heavy amount of current affairs from me, as today we'll be starting off with the first latitude sort of, which is equator. And number third, guys, whatever I'll be writing on the board, it will be readily available to each and every one of you on my Telegram handle, which is CAC with PM. So you don't need to worry. Whatever will be showcased on you on the screen, it will be readily available just after the lecture on my Telegram handle. So Devyo Sajano, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all. Those who are joining me right now, Ayush sir, Augustus 2369, very unique name. So good afternoon, everyone. Remember, this is going to be a live lecture every day from 1:15 to 2:15. So I welcome you all, and any comments, any difficulties, any doubts you have, you are free to discuss with me. Okay. So today I'm starting off with a very, very important latitude out there, which is referred to as 0 degree equator. You must be wondering as to why I'm starting with this only. What's so special about this? So guys, you won't believe, if you pick up the previous year's papers, past 5 years only, if you have knowledge of equator, if you have knowledge of the climate which this region engulfs into, you will be able to answer close to 50 to 100 marks in mains and close to 5 to 6 questions in prelims. That is the gravity of this particular type of climate and this particular location. So let us start with the very basics. Like, how is this equator determined? How many countries, how many continents through which equator passes? So as you can see on the screen, we have continent of South America, we have continent of Africa, then we have continent of Asia, but predominantly it will pass through Southeast Asia, and ultimately it will be passing through one particular part of Pacific, which we refer to it as Oceania. So in totality, if you talk about the macro regions, we have 4 macro regions: South America, Africa, Southeast Asia, and Oceania, through which the equator will pass. We will see the individual countries, we'll also see what is its undertaking. But first of all, let us begin up with the discussions out there, like how is equator determined and what can be the concepts behind it. Yes, good afternoon, Vishnu Taneja ji. Rest of you, those who are live with me, feel free to comment. So guys, if I'm talking about equator, how do we calculate equator? Like, this is a burning question. Like, how is this equator associated with 0 degree? See, for this, we can have two options. Number one, we can understand it through mathematics, simple logic, or number two, we can understand it via geodesy. Geodesy meaning the study of Earth as a whole planet, as to how we can factor in the rotation of Earth on its axis and also the revolution of Earth around the Sun. So we have basically two types of calculations in determining equator. Mathematics being very simple. So if you talk about the Earth, Earth is just like a bulge sphere. Above we have North Pole, below we have South Pole. So for your simplification, I'm using a small globe. Everybody, those who are watching me live, you can feel free to comment whether are you able to see this globe or not. So if you talk about the Earth, Earth is just like a bulge sphere. In the center, it is bulging, and towards the poles, it's becoming flat. So this complete sphere will engulf how many degrees? This complete sphere will engulf 360 degrees, right? And we all know what is the circumference of Earth. So the circumference of Earth is approximately 40,000 kilometers. So what we do is we divide 40,000 by 360. This gives us approximately 111 kilometers. Now, what do you mean by this? So what we have done is we have divided the earth into two equal halves. So while dividing the earth into two equal halves, what we have done is we have taken a center line called as 0 degree. From 0 degree till 90 degree north, and from 0 degree till 90 degrees south. So we are having two hemispheres. This is the northern hemisphere, this is the southern hemisphere. So if I'm talking about the earth out there, you can very well understand that this particular one half is going to be 90 degree. If this is complete 360 degree, this will be 90 degree, this will be 90 degree. So from the center line meaning, like if I'm just putting an imaginary plane over here, let's say this is an equatorial plane, and let's say this is the earth's surface and this is the earth's axis. So cutting through the earth's axis, if I am basically dividing the earth into two halves, and plus if I'm taking this much 1/4 sphere of the earth, so this is going to be 90 degree, right? So from here to here 90 degree north, and from here to here 90 degree south, this is going to be the calculation of equator. So the center point, if I'm moving from north pole to south pole, the center point where this equatorial plane intersects with the earth's axis is going to be the equator. So what we have done is we have divided this into 90 degrees of latitude in the north and 90 degrees of latitude in the south, and the distance between each latitude is going to be approximately 111 kilometers. So if you start from south pole and if you move towards the north pole, approximately you are covering how many latitudes? Approximately you'll be covering 180 degrees of latitude, and if you multiply it by approximately 111, so the distance is going to be approximately 20,000 kilometers. So the distance from the north pole to south pole along the surface. I'm not talking about this distance from the center of the earth's axis, from the surface. Like if I'm starting up from the north pole and if I'm moving towards the south pole, this distance is going to be approximately 20,000 kilometers. In the center we have basically the equator. So this is basically the mathematical analysis out there. How do we do that? But nobody is going to ask you this in civil services prelims. So now, how can we understand it through the rotation and the revolution of Earth? So the answer again is very simple. So if I'm targeting basically how does the Earth revolve around the Sun? So the orbit of Earth around the Sun is elliptical. All of you can understand. Let's say Sun is at its focus and the Earth is revolving around the Sun in an elliptical orbit. So if you clearly see, this half of the earth is illuminated, this half of the earth is illuminated, this half of the earth is illuminated, this half of the earth is illuminated. Illuminated in the sense, we call this as the circle of illumination. This is referred to as what, guys? This is referred to as circle of illumination. Illumination in the sense, which part of the earth is basically illuminated by the sun. So if I'm keeping this earth over here and if I'm talking about on what part of the earth the sun's rays are falling, you will say the sun's rays are falling on this part. If I'm taking the earth over here, on this part, over here, on this part, over here, on this part. So if I do a simple mathematical analysis, it's a little bit complicated, but if I'm just understanding it through the revolution of earth and the rotation of earth around its own axis, so we have very simple understanding. If I'm talking about 0 degree, 0 degree is that particular latitude where the circle of illumination, I'm writing it on the board, please understand this very, very carefully. Circle of illumination bisects the earth into two equal halves. This is very, very important, guys. Meaning what? So if I'm just drawing a tentative diagram of it, let's say this is our earth. Draw a good circle over here. Yeah. So let's say this is our earth. And let's say over here we are having the sun. So these are basically the sun's rays which are falling on the earth. So when I'm talking about circle of illumination, meaning that if I'm taking you on 0-degree equator, the circle of illumination will perfectly bisect the earth. One half of the earth will be facing towards the sun, one half of the earth will be facing away from the sun. And this will not change throughout the earth's revolution around the sun. So whether the earth be over here, whether the earth be over here, here, nowhere in the earth's revolution will the circle of illumination differ. So if I'm talking about equator, if one half of the earth is exposed to the sun and one half of the earth is away from the sun, can I say that equator can have approximately what? Equator can have approximately 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night. Definitely. So if I'm trying to define the equator for all of you, equator is going to be what? So equator is going to be that latitude. Mind you, these definitions are very, very important. Latitude means we have divided the earth into parallels of latitude and parallels of longitude. Latitude will help us determine north and south side of the earth. So it is that latitude where you are having what? Where we are having equinox. Equinox means approximately 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night. See, this does not mean equilux. Now you must be wondering, sir, what is the difference between the two? Why are you confusing us? This is where UPSC can trap you all, guys. See, when I'm talking about equilux, so equilux will be that location where you are having perfect 12 hours of day and perfect 12 hours of night. This will be having perfect 12 hours day, perfect 12 hours night. But no location on earth is having perfect 12 hours day and perfect 12 hours night. No location on earth will have that. This is very, very important for all of you to understand. No location on earth has perfect 12 hours day and perfect 12 hours night. Everywhere you go on earth, you will be having approximately 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night on the equator too. You have two more basically days. We call them as equinoxes, vernal equinox and autumnal equinox. I'm not teaching that stuff right now. Right now, you just need to understand that equator will be one such latitude where you will be having approximately 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night. And this will not change. This will not change through the complete 365 days of the revolution of Earth. This is very, very important, guys. This will never change. So I am writing 365 days, but it's actually 365 days, 0.6 hours. So every 4 years, we add up 6 hours, we add up one day, we have the leap year. But this orientation is not going to change anywhere down the line. Why? Because wherever you go into the Earth's orbit around the Sun, equator will always be facing irrespective of the axial tilt of Earth. All of us know that the Earth is not perfectly straight. The Earth's axis is tilted. The tilt of the Earth's axis is approximately 23.5 degrees. It is pointing north star, जिसे हम लोग ध्रुव तारा भी कहते हैं. So this is where we are having the Earth's axis as tilted. So now a very simple analysis. If the equator's position with respect to the sun is not changing, on equator we are approximately having 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night. So can I say that equator will be one such latitude where there will be absence of what? Where there will be absence of seasons? Definitely. Why? Because the situations, the position of the sun, the climate is unchanging. So the climate is going to be fixed. And by the virtue of this, if I'm talking about on the equator, how is the sun's declination? So can I say that on the equator, the sun's declination is approximately 90 degree, but naturally. So on the equator, the sun's rays are falling perpendicularly almost throughout the year. So let's say this is my hand and this is the sun which is falling on my hand. So if the sun's rays are falling 90 degree, can I say that equator will be characterized by intense vertical convection? Convection meaning the land surface will start getting heated up. The convection will rise up. It will form massive clouds and you will be having what? You will be having intense rainfall. So when I'm talking about the equator, the climate being fixed, what will be the speciality of this climate? The speciality of this climate will be that you will be having excess rainfall of around 300 to 350 centimeters a year. Why so? Because over here you will be having perpendicular insolation. This thing is not going to change. So when you are going to have such a heavy amount of rainfall, the conditions are fixed. Morning 6 a.m. till let's say approximately 1 p.m. you have basically humidity building up. So humidity will build up, you will be having formation of clouds. From 1 p.m. till approximately 6 p.m. in the evening, you will be having heavy precipitation. Then from 6 p.m. till approximately you can say 10 p.m. till 12 a.m. you will be having little bit of cloud cover, and then till 6 a.m. again you can have clear sky. We can definitely have clear sky. So these conditions, they don't alter that much. This is referred to as what, guys? This is referred to as the equatorial type of climate. We call this as what? We call this as the equatorial type of climate. Those who are watching me live right now, please let me know, are you all understanding this stuff? So those who are live, Ayush, Vishnu Taneja, Kanwar ma'am, Sonu Kumar sir, Bhumi Singh, those who are live right now, are you understanding the gravity of what I'm teaching you? That is why I told you that this series is going to be an unprecedented series. Whatever I'll be writing on the board, that will help you beyond your conventional knowledge. Because the difficulty of the examination today is very, very high. If we are not practicing from this perspective, then answers to those questions will be very, very difficult. Yes? Okay, chalo. Thank you for giving me the feedback. And please keep on speaking with me. See, guys, I'm standing over here because of all of you. I'm doing all of this for you all. Without you, I am nothing. So it's, it's a little bit daunting sometimes to just have one camera pointed at me. There is no one in the room and I'm continuously speaking and explaining the stuff. But it is your comment, it is your basically energy, your dedication, your passion, which keeps me on my toes and it helps me to move ahead. So the more you will comment, the more you will keep on speaking with me, the more I will be encouraged to give you good amount of information, right? Chalo. So now let's get to little bit of current affairs and let's get to little bit of understanding. So anywhere I take you on the equator, if the rainfall is very high, on the equator we'll be finding green cover. Equator will be characterized by the dense equatorial rainforests. So over here we have the mighty Amazon. Then over here we have the mighty Congo rainforest, and over here we have the rainforests of Borneo and the rainforest of Malaysia. Right? You are finding this dense green cover. So these are what? These are basically dense equatorial evergreen rainforests. These are our dense equatorial evergreen rainforest, right? So before this, let us move into a little bit of political aspect and let us try to decode the countries through which equator passes, because that is a little bit important, right? So for this, I will be using this particular map, and this map has already been uploaded on my Telegram handle CSA with PM, so don't need to worry. So if you can clearly see over here, equator in total passes through 13 countries. These 13 countries, they are part of different continents. Up till now, I have not yet seen such question, the countries through which equator passes. in the past 10 years, but we don't know what the future holds for us. So, saying this for the very first time live on YouTube, please memorize some facts because that is very important. So, the countries in South America, if you go, the equator enters through Ecuador. Then we are having a country called as Colombia. So, Ecuador, Colombia, and then we have Brazil. All these countries, they are very important for not only rainforests, but these are very important for coffee plantation crops and for potato. So in South America, what UPSC can basically trap you in, we have Ecuador, Colombia, and Brazil. We have these three countries, but you need to know the islands too, because this year for the very first time I was also shocked that yes, UPSC was asking about the islands too. So please make sure that you understand that on the west coast of South America, over here, you are having a very small island group, this one. So this is called as Galapagos. This is referred to as Galapagos. So Galapagos is basically ruled by Ecuador only. It's ruled by Ecuador only. Let me just showcase you the photo of it also so that all of you can understand it even more precisely. So this is Galapagos. Galapagos is very famous. Why? Because this is where uh, Charles Darwin conducted his experiments and he gave us the theory of evolution. So Galapagos is basically ruled by Ecuador only, and Equator passes through it. So you can say that our understanding of our evolution, our understanding of the planet Earth in general has started from this point. So please remember, Equator passes through Ecuador. This is very, 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 very important. And this is where we are having the Galapagos Islands. After this, basically, if I'm talking about the physical aspect, you can clearly see the equator entering into South America. In South America, you are having two very important volcanic peaks which are very near to the equator. Guys, I really don't know how many of you are watching me for the very first time today, but if you see my other series on the main channel, StudyIQ IS, this series is very different because first time live on YouTube when I'm discussing equator, I'm also discussing the volcanic peaks too. Please don't worry, please don't get confused. Sir, will you not cover this when we discuss South America? No, there I will be going in very much depth. I will give you the reason behind this. What are these peaks? What are the rocks associated with it? What type of magma is associated with it? But now, going by the trends, because this year for the very first time UPSC asked about lakes which are passing through Tropic of Cancer, which are passing through Tropic of Capricorn. So now we have to make sure that we need to know the physical entries too. So near equator in South America, you literally have two very important peaks. We have Cotopaxi and Mount Chimborazo. Equator does not pass through them, but they are very near. And if I'm talking about Cotopaxi and Chimborazo, if you see the elevation, it's approximately 6,000 meters, 6 kilometers. So the tallest peak on Earth measured from the Earth's center, factoring in the continental crusts. Very, very important. I am reiterating again. If I'm taking you to South America, so this over here is where we are having South America. This is South America. From the center of Earth, if I'm talking about the entire continental crust thickness of South America or the entire continental crust thickness of Earth in general, we all know we have the oceanic crust and we have the continental crust, right? So if I'm talking about the continental crust only, so the tallest point on Earth factoring in the continental crust thickness is not Mount Everest. It is not Mauna Kea, not Mauna Loa. From the center of Earth till the very tip of the entire continental crust thickness factoring in. So center of Earth means sense core, mantle and crust. And in the crust, if I'm talking about the continental crust, which is more thicker than the oceanic crust, Chimborazo becomes the highest point in terms of elevation, in terms of continental crust thickness. Please keep this in mind. This is very, very important. After this, if I'm talking about the equator, so you have the mighty Amazon river draining through it. So the main headstream of Amazon, it is actually called as Maranon. I will be discussing this when we'll be doing the map of South America in detail. But the main head stream of Amazon, it is called as Maranon River. And then we have two very important tributaries of Amazon. We have river Negro, and the biggest tributary we have Madeira. So Negro, Madeira, and then Amazon is the only river in the world which drains at the equator. This is very, very important. Amazon is the only river in the world which drains at the equator. And mind you, Amazon is the only river in the world which is having its own coral reef system. It has its own coral reef system. This is very, very unique. So please, please, please remember this. Amazon river. Okay. I will be coming to physical entries in a while. Let us first finish off with the political entries, and then I'll be discussing the physical entries too. After this, Equator enters into Africa. In Africa, again, you are having a island country called as Sao Tome and Principe. After that, it enters into Gabon. Then we have Republic of Congo. Then we have Democratic Republic of Congo. We have Uganda, Kenya, and Somalia. So these many countries we are having in basically Africa, and it does pass through Horn of Africa. Please remember, this is referred to as Horn of Africa. Somalia is a country in the Horn of Africa through which Equator passes. So if you are having a question, does Equator pass through Horn of Africa? Your answer should be yes, because we are having Somalia. Exclusively if it's asked, if it is passing, then no. But if you are having mention of Somalia, then your answer should be yes. Please keep this in mind. After that, Equator will enter into Asian landmass. We'll be having a country called as Maldives. All of us know today it has become the Hollywood and Bollywood holiday capital, right? After that, it enters into Indonesia. After Indonesia, it is entering into Oceania, and we are having a country called as Kiribati. So Kiribati is the largest country in the island group of Micronesia. So Kiribati is very, very important. We'll be discussing Kiribati when we'll be doing international date lines, because this is the only country in the world where you are having plus 13 and plus 14 time zone. Plus 13 and plus 14, yes, this is the only country in the world. So we'll do that when we'll discuss the international date line. For now, please remember that yes, Equator passes through Kiribati too. Over here, the most important entry is going to be this island. This is the island of Borneo, guys. Borneo is an island which is surrounded by water, but it is ruled by three countries. You have Indonesia, above you have Malaysia, and there you also have a very small country called as Brunei. The capital of it is Bandar Seri Begawan. So please remember, we have Borneo island too. And Indonesia is basically one such country which is having more than, like, if you see the small atolls, if you see the small islands, it is having more than 60,000 plus small islands out there. So one such country which is having highest number of islands. Sir, Kiribati is in Oceania. Yes, Ayushji, Kiribati is in Oceania. You are having three groupings: Micronesia, Melanesia, and Polynesia. Kiribati is the biggest country in Micronesia. It is also the biggest country in basically the equatorial region. The biggest country in the entire Oceania is French Polynesia, but Kiribati is the biggest one in Micronesia. So please remember this. So in total, we are having 13 countries through which Equator passes. 13 countries. In South America, we have Colombia, Ecuador, Brazil. In Africa, Sao Tome Principe, Gabon, Congo, DRC, Uganda, Kenya, Somalia, Maldives. We have Indonesia, and we have Kiribati. Now, if I talk about Africa, so in Africa, you need to remember one very important entry. So see, this is our equator, Sao Tome and Principe. This is how the equator is flowing through over here. You can see over here, we are having a continental lake called as Lake Victoria. Please remember that Lake Victoria is not a crater lake. It's not a Rift Valley lake. Over here, we are actually having an active volcanic zone called as the Great African Rift Valley. Today, if I'm talking about Africa, it is splitting into two parts. So up till now, if you pick up past 15 years of paper, this entry has been asked 3 times. I really don't know what's the obsession of UPSC with it, but yes, this has been asked. So Equator does pass through Lake Victoria, and Lake Victoria is the origin of White Nile. in a way we can say that yes, Lake Victoria is the origin of River Nile also. So River Nile is having two head streams. We are having Blue Nile and we are having White Nile. So White Nile will originate near Lake Victoria. Blue Nile originates in Ethiopia. You are having Mount Birham near where Blue Nile originates. But the main source of River Nile is also attributed to basically Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria is not a volcanic lake. It's not a rift valley lake. It's a continental lake. It's a depression where the water has accumulated. Please keep this in mind. And this is where the equator passes. And then we are having Mount Kenya and Mount Kilimanjaro. So Mount Kenya is on the equator. Please remember, Mount Kenya, one of the tallest peaks in Africa, and the tallest peak of Africa is Mount Kilimanjaro. So Mount Kilimanjaro is approximately 3 degrees south. But if I'm talking about Mount Kenya, let me just showcase you its location too, so that you don't feel, sir, we are going a little bit haywire. So let me just showcase to you. So Mount Kenya latitude, if I just Google it, you'll be getting the answer to it. So it's 0.15 degrees south. It is on the equator. So a simple question can be asked, which of the following mountains is on the equator? Your answer should be Mount Kenya. This is very, very important. Okay. After this, if I'm talking about the equator, so equator then will pass through Southeast Asia, crossing after Maldives. If I'm talking about equator, if I'm just showcasing you this line, so see, this is where we are having the equator passing through. And those who have joined me late, let me just clarify, this atlas is basically Orient Black Swan School Atlas, 9th edition. This is the digital copy of it. Everything has been uploaded on my Telegram portal, CAC with PM. You don't need to worry. You are having the exact copies on my Telegram portal. Those who have seen, you can please comment so that everybody gets the assurance. Those who have seen the portal, those who are having this, if you can just comment in the comment screen, yes sir, we know that, so that others get an assurance. Okay. So if you talk about basically the passage of equator, you are having the island of Sumatra, the biggest island of Indonesia, through which equator passes, and this is the island of Borneo. So when I'm talking about Borneo, guys, Borneo's ancient name, it is referred to as Kalimantan, right? Let me see if it's mentioned over here. Kalimantan, no, I don't think it is mentioned over here. Kalimantan, no. So right now, Indonesia has shifted its capital from Jakarta into East Borneo. If you talk about Borneo, this is Indonesia over here, this is Malaysia, and this is Brunei, three countries. But equator will not pass through Malaysia. Please keep this in mind. This is a common mistake which majority of the aspirants make, that yes, equator passes through Malaysia. No. Equator, after crossing basically Indonesia, it directly enters into Oceania and it goes into Kiribati. So let me open up for all of you the map of Oceania too, so that you get a clear understanding. I do have a map, good map of Oceania. Yes. So this is the map of Oceania over here. Let me have another map open so that we can have a good understanding. Yeah, in this map, it will be clearly visible to all of you. So we are having three island groupings. We have Micronesia, we have Polynesia, and we have Melanesia. So three island groupings we are having over here: Micronesia, Melanesia, and Polynesia. So Kiribati over here is the biggest country of Micronesia, and the biggest country of the Oceania is French Polynesia. So Kiribati stretches from over here till over here, and this is the passage of equator. So Kiribati is the only country in the world which simultaneously lies in north and south. So if you go and cross the equator over here, you enter into the northern hemisphere. If you cross the equator into the south, you enter into the southern hemisphere. Please keep this in mind. And the boundary of this is actually your international date line. Okay. Don't worry, I have not yet touched this topic. I will be touching this topic, but for now, just remember that the only country in the world whose boundary has been determined with reference to ideal, it's Kiribati, right? So now let's get to little bit of current affairs, because current affairs are very, very important. So now I want your A plus attention on the board. Are you all here with me? How's the Josh, everyone? Please tell me. Are you all listening to my words very, very carefully? because the knowledge which now I'm going to present in front of all of you, I give you my guarantee next year, whether it be prelims or whether it be mains. In prelims, you will be getting at least one question from whatever I'm going to speak right now, and in mains, you will be able to write at least 50 marks from whatever I'm trying to tell you right now. This is my guarantee, and this is live on YouTube. It's 1:50 p.m. right? The date is 12th of November. Okay. So listen to my words very, very carefully. I am giving you my guarantee because this is the part for which you are going to listen to this series very diligently. This is the part where you should all take note because this is from where UPSC is going to frame the questions. Now, if I'm talking about little bit of current affairs, so Amazon, we all know that it is the world's largest rainforest. Amazon, it is also referred to as the selvas of the world. Selvas meaning lungs because they pump approximately 19% of world's fresh oxygen supply, right? But sadly, due to deforestation, sadly due to lumbering, logging, Amazon today has become net carbon emitter, right? So you are having record deforestation. Deforestation peaked in the year 2019, 18, 20. Then it basically crumbled down. 2023, 2024 were good years. This year again, from May of 2025, deforestation has picked up. If you talk about deforestation, how much of total carbon sink is being obliterated or how much carbon is now being pumped? So it has crossed approximately 2.2 billion tons. It has crossed it. So today Amazon has become net carbon emitter. But you know, what is the dire consequence of this? So just in the last month, you are having a new study which has come out that Earth has crossed some climate tipping points. Climate tipping points meaning that once we are reaching that point, the damage is irreversible. You cannot overcome the damage. For Amazon, we have reached the tipping point. Tipping point in the sense that Earth now on an average is 1.5 degrees Celsius more warmer than the pre-industrial average. Right now, if I'm taking you to Amazon, you know what is the most dire consequence? The most dire consequence is that over here, because of increased CO2 uptick, meaning you are clearing the forest. So clearing the forest in the sense that whatever CO2 was stored, now that stored CO2, that sequestrated CO2 is now being given out. In addition to that, globally the carbon emissions are also peaking. So because of increased uptake of CO2 in the atmosphere in Amazon, large trees are basically growing incessantly at the cost of what? At the cost of small bushes, at the cost of small creepers. So bushes and creepers in Amazon, they are basically going down. The undergrowth of Amazon rainforest is being killed. So if I'm talking about Amazon, so just let me showcase you the Amazon vegetation so that you get a good hindsight. The vegetation of Amazon, it is referred to as epiphytic vegetation. Epiphytic vegetation meaning that you actually are having very dense undergrowth. So if you see the images of Amazon rainforest looks like this. This is how the Amazon rainforest typically looks like. You are having tall trees which are fighting for sunlight, plus you are having bushes, ferns, creepers. You are having very dense undergrowth. Sunlight does not easily penetrate over here. Right now what is happening is because of increased CO2, the tall trees, the woody perennials, they are growing very much in height at the cost of this undergrowth. So you know what is the present threat over here? The present threat over here in Amazon is that Amazon is on the verge of ecosystem collapse. Ecosystem collapse. Amazon is on the threat of basically getting converted into savanna type of ecosystem which is present in Africa over this region, grassland ecosystem, and the change has already started. So the first visible impact of climate change is now being seen in the Amazon, where the small trees, small bushes are getting sacrificed because of the high demand of CO2 by the tall trees. Because tall trees, they can easily reach good heights, they can absorb the CO2, they can have an uptick in their photosynthesis. They are growing in height at the cost of small trees. So the ecosystem of Amazon is getting altered. This will result into what you know. See, forests, if I'm talking about, they are a very important part of the natural water cycle. So from the Amazon, you are having so much of basically transpiration. Transpiration means the water lost by the trees. So trees, when they do photosynthesis, water will be exhaled out, right? So the transpirative losses today, they are going so much low that the rain cycle of Amazon is getting impacted. So the atmospheric rivers, the increased transpiration from Amazon, which causes rainfall in majority parts of the equatorial world, it is now going haywire. So the overall precipitation is going low, the ecosystem is changing, and in addition to that, because of El Nino and La Nina, you won't believe that the world's biggest river, Amazon, dried up. It perpetually dried up last year. 2024 was a very, very bad year for Amazon. Amazon river basically dried up. So this is very, very bad. Climate tipping point. Then, if I'm talking about Congo, if I just showcase you the rainforest of Congo on map, let me just open up Africa again. So over here, you'll be able to see a river called as Congo, right? So the Congo originating from Katanga Plateau, it first moves north, then it turns basically west, it turns then south, and then again west. So Congo is basically the world's deepest river. I don't know how many of you know this point, but the world's deepest river is Congo. The depth of Congo in its deepest point is approximately 220 meters, guys. 220 meters. Congo is one such river which is having the highest number of peatlands. Peatlands means marshes. If I'm talking about the Congo Basin is the world's largest tropical carbon sink. Mind you, the world's largest tropical carbon sink is not Amazon rainforest, it is Congo rainforest. The Congo basin has so much of basically underground water reserves, it has so much of peatlands that it has a carbon sink in excess of 3 billion tons. Right now, what has happened is because of the Russia-Ukraine war. So, because of Russia-Ukraine war, the entire oil and natural gas supply of Europe has been stopped by Russia. So now the Europe is moving towards Congo for what? For coal exploration, for hydrocarbon exploration, right? So you will be shocked to hear that one such region which was having no development, one such region which was actually having very high incidence of poverty, now here mafia has become active. Let go of the ecological damages, let go of the threat to chimpanzees, because in DRC we are having the highest number of chimpanzees in the world, Virunga National Park. At the boundaries of Virunga National Park, now you are having coal and petroleum exploration licenses being given free hand. Why? Because Europe wants to enjoy Christmas. Everybody wants to enjoy jacuzzis, right? Everybody wants to use hot tubs. They want water, they want electricity, they want oven, they want luxury living. So from where the hell are they going to produce electricity if Russia is stopping everything for them? They're going towards Congo. So Congo today is on the verge of losing 60% of its marshland. 60%, guys. This data is really very daunting. Please take care of this data. If I'm showcasing you how big the Congo peatlands are, you won't believe the images, how big it is. Let me just open it up for all of you. Okay. So these are our Congo peatlands. See how big are these? And these are literally the world's basically good sources of carbon sink. If you can see on the board over here, this is how beautiful the peatlands of Congo are. Everything is now on the verge of collapse. So please take care of this. This can be directly asked in prelims, or you can have an essay in mains, or such type of questions can be asked in GS paper 1 and GS paper 3. Mark my words, And please adhere to my first lecture. I told you that mapping is not as easy as it seems. To quote a very famous dialogue of movie called as Transformers, there is always more than it meets the eye. I'm again reiterating, there is always more than it meets the eye. What you see is just the initial surface. We have to explore the base of the iceberg. And this is what mapping actually means. Okay, so please remember all of this. This is going to be very, very important. After that, if I'm talking about Borneo, so Borneo, I guess the single most exploited resource right now on Mother Earth, single most exploited, because the deforestation in Borneo is to the tune of more than 50%. The thing is, it does not come into limelight. Why? Because of its underdeveloped privilege, underdeveloped status. If you ask me where the deforestation right now is the highest is Borneo, but why does not it come into limelight? Because of खाने के बाद कुछ मीठा हो जाए. You are having तेड़ा है पर मेरा है रे कुरकुरे, KFC, McDonald's. Which oil we are frying? It's all palm oil. Namkeen, we have to eat namkeen, right? Which oil it is being used? Globally, transport industry is growing rubber. So, if I'm talking about Borneo, let me just showcase you all. The images are really shocking. So, Borneo, palm pot cultivation. Like, I guess this is the most quintessential image of the destruction of the forest out there. So, these are your equatorial rainforest, and over here you are having palm pot being grown. So, palm pot, cocoa, right? And then you also have rubber plantations, because the transport sector is moving basically beyond any kind of restricted growth. Yes, coconut pods. You also have coconut. Yes, Sonu, you are right. So, guys, please remember that equatorial locations today, in spite of their rich biodiversity, because equator is that particular altitude where we have the world's majority of biodiversity. Like if I'm talking about this 3-4 regions out there, they account for a chunk of Earth's biodiversity. The African countries, especially, like if I'm talking about, like let me just open it up again. If I'm talking about basically this particular country called as Democratic Republic of Congo and then the Republic of Congo, these two countries today they hold the single largest stretch of equatorial rainforest. Mind you, it's not Brazil, it's this. But sadly, we are losing it today. Sadly, we are losing it today. Rampant deforestation, unchecked development, demand for hydrocarbons, then basically living standards which are unsustainable, right? We want the best of the best. So, best of the best, we have to sacrifice our biodiversity. Okay. So, I hope that these lectures are really very much to the point for all of you. So, I'll be stopping over here today. I hope that all of you are in tune with me. Please remember to follow me on Telegram. My official handle is CSC with PM. And please remember that if you go on the website of StudyIQ, just open up the website of StudyIQ. And on the website of StudyIQ, if you basically purchase any course, like if you go on the website of StudyIQ, if you go into English language batch courses, if I just open it up English, so right now we are having fast track batch, we are having resolution batch, we are having success in prelims batch. If you go into any batch, right now the learners day sale is active, and if you go over there and if you enter my code PM Live and if you click apply, so you will be having instant savings by using my code PM Live. So my code is PM Live Pritesh Maturkar. Any course you buy on StudyIQ, you can use my code and you can avail great discount. Okay. So guys, thank you all for joining me. Please remember, everything of this will be available on my Telegram handle. Again, I'm opening up the slide for all of you. It's CSC with PM. Tomorrow we'll be discussing topic of cancer in detail, along with the locations, along with the deserts, and what are the current affairs associated with it. Do follow this series diligently, and if possible, start summarizing this. So on the weekend, sit, summarize, and submit me on my Telegram handle CSC with me. Okay. So on the behalf of Study IQIS, I thank each and every one of you. Until next time, until tomorrow's lecture, tata, bye bye, adios amigos. Please keep on smiling, please keep on working hard. Please don't follow to like, subscribe, and comment, because your comments are very important, and I'm open to critical comments also. So please feel free to comment after the lecture, and feel free to share this lecture. That is how our community will grow. Okay, take care of yourself. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care, everybody. Bye. So there was a news few times back that palm oil is not as bad as portrait should be used. Could you enlighten on this? Vishnu sir, see, when I'm talking about palm oil, not as bad in terms of what? So it was based on basically the nutritional calculations. Because like if you are having good quality of palm oil, if you are having filtered palm oil, so triglycerides, they are the biggest enemy out there. So the impact of palm oil in small quantities on a long run was not that much justified, but it is only when you consume it in large quantities that it starts impacting your systems out there. So for health, we can factor in that it's not as bad. It is bad as compared to other edible oils. It is bad. But when I'm talking about geographical perspective, Vishnuji, it is an ecological disaster, because when I'm talking about palm pod, Vishnu, so palm pod has the ability to suck in all the waters from beneath. It's a water guzzler. So it is actually considered as IAS, invasive alien species. It sucks up the water from the surrounding areas. It basically dries out, it desiccates out the surrounding areas. So that is why you will never see that palm pod be a part of basically agroforestry or farm forestry. It can never happen. So purely from ecological perspective, these are disasters. Okay. Thank you everybody. Have a great day. Take care. I will see you all tomorrow at 1.